Many times in life, you'll find yourself in battles with the people close to you, battles with people at work, battles with people you don't know in the world at large. And oftentimes, you'll find yourself coming with pure intent. You are fighting for what's right, you are fighting right and wrong. And someone else may seem to be victorious over you when the whole time they've been fighting win or lose. Right and wrong and win or lose are not the same. They are vehemently two different modalities and thoughts and thought processes. The difference, the stark difference in documentaries, as you all know, there have been many documentaries on the subject of Puffy. Some of you may call him Diddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, P. Puff, whatever. I call him Puffy because that's who he was when he shot me in my face on December 27th, 1999, in Club New York, in New York City. There have been many documentaries. Some have fallen flat. Some were just hyperbolous reproductions of other documentaries. They were just an assortment, a rushed assortment of film clicks and, bloggers trying to make their bones. And all of those pale in comparison now to the reckoning, the Mr. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, sir, because I'm going to put respect on that man's name, and Alexandra Stapleton in association with Netflix documentary called The Reckoning about the true story of Puffy and his rise from the onset of his early days, his childhood, his emergence in the music industry, in the culture, his presence in the shaping and the changing of hip hop, R&B, and that culture as we know it. I am going to illustrate to you in this video an entire different perspective. A lot of filmmakers are right now seething, chomping at the bit, trying to understand, why is everybody saying this is better than ours? Because in order to truly tell a story, you have to come to it with a clean heart. You have to come to it with a sincere intent, not to be the first, because we know YouTube and, all these bloggers and different productions, breaking news, you want to be first. Being first is not always best. See, the world has fooled you into believing the false narrative that being first is where it's at, that that's the very best in all times. No, 50 Cent's documentary is the last and the best. But as they say, save the best for last. And I said I wasn't going to call him 50 Cents. Mr. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, sir, because he deserves every bit of respect that nomenclature deserves. A lot of other documentary filmmakers are trying to wonder, well, what's so good about his? Why are they saying his is better? Because a lot of other documentary makers came to it to prop up, first and foremost, they're not of the culture, and that is extremely relevant. Second of all, they have no dog in the fight. Their one and only interest was to jump into the fray and make a few bucks off of something. They didn't care. A lot of them were entities that completely disavowed and dismissed the hip hop genre and culture as a fleeting trend that will soon fade away. Very dismissive, always judgmental. Don't take my word for it. Go back and look at their narratives on their networks and on their channels. Very dismissive, very demonizing, really nasty. They didn't care about the culture and they had no true connection to it. So you can't trust someone to give you a narrative on a culture that they have no connection to. It's like if I sat here and tried to give you a narrative about life in Czechoslovakia, I would be horribly flat and, it would lack in substance and veracity because I would be giving you second, third, fifth hand stories that I haphazardly looked up on the internet. I couldn't tell you anything noteworthy, or anything substantive about something for which I know not. And that's what part of the problem is. people speaking out of turn for something they know not. The reason The Reckoning stands high above all of the other documentaries is because it was told, crafted, formulated by someone with teeth, a stake in the culture, with someone with a dog in the fight, someone who had a passionate, firsthand account of the goings on, the impact of those goings on, and felt the sting of them themselves. See, this is not some reporter trying to sound cool saying 50 cent and not 50 cent. This is some reporter who has nothing to do with any of the stories and is simply trying to narrate it because some reporter in the writer's room who may have a firsthand account of the culture is trying to tell them, and there's a group of other people who have nothing to do with the culture demonizing what they're contributing and telling them, oh no, we'll just do it like this. We don't need to say all of that. When your documentary is all Diddy, and Diddy said this and Diddy that, I can't trust the narrative of any of those people. The fact that you're calling him Diddy says you don't really know who he is. I've seen documentaries where so many of the people waxing poetically were virtual infants when most of this tangible stuff took place. How could they tell? How could they accurately tell you when they were not there? They were not there in the climate, in the time, on the scene, having firsthand knowledge. I've seen documentaries that gave more credence to bloggers who never had a connection to the case in any way. Never. Their connection is tertiary at best. But they're up there waxing poetically, and these productions are highlighting bloggers who are giving this and Diddy this and Diddy that and Diddy this narrative without any factual basis or experience. See, the reason that this shines as a beacon amongst those other productions is because the person who took the time to structure and bring together the appropriate writers took a firsthand posture in this production and sought to seek out and highlight people who absolutely had a firsthand account in it. I mean, there were documentaries that gave more credence to a blogger who just decided that they were going to report on this so they could get some clicks and views, when they had firsthand actual victim survivors in their narrative, and you hardly heard them speak. They recorded them for hours and yet used little snippets that were insignificant, as opposed to listening to the tangible stuff. See, this wasn't about finding the truth. Those other productions was not about finding the truth. It was about clicks and views. It was about making money. And so in that, they are no better than Puffy himself, because that's what he was about. He disregarded people's talent, people's value, people's, energy. He harnessed it for what he wanted, but he did not ever truly give value to it. And that's why it ended up this way. And a lot of people were hurt in the midst. People pick and choose who they want to listen to. Along the line, this man has had a lot of victims, a few survivors, but only 3 formidable opponents, self-initiated formidable opponents. Mr. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, sir, me, Natanya Rubin, the victim and survivor of his December 27th, 1999 Club New York shooting, in which he shot me in the face with a 9mm hollow point bullet. In a shooting in which Shine was also involved, and Shine shot another gentleman named Julius Jones. I even have audio from a podcast called the Combat Jack podcast, a gentleman who is now deceased. He was a former entertainment attorney. He was in the burgeoning, he was one of the first of the podcast generation. And Shine apologized, so to speak, on his podcast years ago. Apologized, so to speak, to me, theoretically apologized. But people picked and choose who they wanted to listen to. See, had anybody listened to me, who was screaming from the top of my lungs 25 years ago that this man shot me, and I wasn't going to sit down and be quiet or be afraid, I wasn't going to tuck my tail and run, I was his first formidable opponent, the first person to stand up against him and say, hell no. But y'all didn't want to hear me though. See, we were still mired in hip hop, and the culture was still very mired in the patriarchy. They are still now, but I would say there's a little more diversity. But they were very much mired in the patriarchy. And so when they were saying the narrative over and over again, she's trying to take down a good black man, what they were really saying is she's trying to take down a man. And by golly, they were not about to let me do that. But I'm going to progress into what I have to say and let you know what the 12 P's of Puffy / Diddy are. The first P is privilege. I hear a lot of narrative back and forth. Oh, stolen goods. Oh, how could they? This is illegal. They put his conversation with his attorney. Oh, illegal. Far too often on social media and a variety of social media platforms, whether it be, TikTok, YouTube, IG, Facebook, whatever, all the others that exist. I see all these, especially these very young people that have really not gotten their feet wet at life yet. But they're coming out and bloviating these gigantic professions of, oh, let me tell you what it really is. Let me give you the tea. But they really don't know what they're speaking of. In order for privilege to exist, matter of fact, let me stick a pin right there. I want to show you some of the footage from The Reckoning, and then we'll go into other things. Allow me to show you the footage from The Reckoning now, and we will then touch on the 12 P's of Puffy. This was a thought-provoking, amazing, conglomeration of video snippets and narratives of firsthand accounts of people who experienced this, what I call devil, firsthand. But let's get into it.
Dirtiest of dirty business. We're losing.
Puffy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean Combs. All of these reincarnations, all those name changes are attached to really bad deeds.
Everything in life, you're gonna have people that are bad and people that are good. You have to choose your side.
Now, by now, most of you have seen the my apologies. Most of you have seen the narrative. I'm going to show you some additional pieces of footage. Let me stop it right there. The first of the 12 P's of Puffy there's no issue with privilege here. Privilege, the definition of privilege, the hackation is really up on me, trying to interrupt my ability to give this narrative, but I'm going to press on because nothing's going to stop me. The first of the 12 P's is privilege. Attorney-client privilege or lawyer-client privilege is a common law doctrine of legal professional privilege. In the United States, attorney-client privilege is a client's right to refuse to disclose and to prevent any other person from disclosing confidential communications between the client and the attorney. However, privilege may be waived if the confidential communications are disclosed to third parties, i.e. the videographer, the other guys sitting in the room. Once you disclose private communications between yourself and your attorney, which fall under the United States law of privilege, you lose privilege. If you record it, you videography, memorialize it in time, you have lost privilege. You speak it in front of other gentlemen sitting in the room, you have lost privilege. So privilege is not an issue here. Privilege protects the confidential communication and not the underlying information. For instance, if a client has previously disclosed confidential information to a third party, which is not an attorney, and then gives the same information to an attorney, the attorney-client privilege will still protect the communication to the attorney, but will not protect the communication with the third party. Once you have a videographer following you around because it is your desire to make a victory lap videography film about your journey through the trial, you set yourself up to lose your privilege. And so privilege cannot be argued after the fact once you yourself created the videography information. There is no issue with the privilege. So we're going to take that off the table. Once you discuss it publicly in front of a video camera and or a third party, you lose the protection of privacy and privilege. Number 2, possession. The footage is not stolen footage. I see all over the internet, oh, stolen footage, oh, cease and desist, oh, yada, yada, yada. Again, a narrative espoused by people who do not themselves know or understand the law. I would tell you, before you come to the internet to be a subject matter expert, it would behoove you to get some understanding and knowledge in you. The word says, my people perish for lack of knowledge and understanding. And here you guys are, resplendent on your social media platforms, spewing and bloviating narratives that make no sense and are not a violation of the law. And so possession is 9/10 of the law. Possession being 9/10 of the law has a very distinct meaning. The definition and control of the manual or ideal custody of anything, which may be the subject of property for one's use and enjoyment, either as the owner of the as the owner or proprietor of a qualified right in it, and either held personally or by another person who exercises it in one's place and name. That condition of fact under which one can exercise his power over a corporal thing at his pleasure to the exclusion of all other persons. The reason, and so here is something else I will tell you, I will reiterate, possession is 9/10 of the law. That means, let's say you're walking down the street and money starts to fly and you grab $400. You're on the city street. People are around. There's other, but you are able to scoop up $400. If no one can stand on that street and give a definitive account that that was theirs, the person in possession of the money is the holder and thus owner of the money. Just like the person in possession of the videography, the film, the recordings is the owner of the content And I will tell you further, I will further espouse why that happened, how he got to this situation. All of this is a thing of his own doing. Puffy is where he is because of his own doing. And that's another one of the 11 P's. I'll tell you in a moment. So like I said for this, the footage is not stolen. It was legally obtained due to his own misdeeds. Failure to pay a photographer for their time, their work, their film, their money, their labor, which was his pattern, cost him the footage. Possession is 9/10 of the law, which means ownership is retained by the person in possession of the item or material. You guys need to learn that. The next thing is pattern. Puffy had an innate pattern of behavior that he repeatedly and perpetually, like pursuing and sleeping with other men's girlfriends or wives, which caused, because he was so insecure, which caused a lot of these issues and is the petty that you guys claim and speak of that 50 Cent is, all while negating the responsibility of the guilty party. There is a guilty party here. There is a video, an entire documentary, a 4-part documentary that illustrates all of the misdeeds and the criminal actions and the devious actions of a man. And some of you guys are so low vibrational, so yourselves petty, you're projecting your own knowledge of self onto other people. All you can come up with, you watch this entire 4-part documentary and all you can say is 50 Cent petty as hell. No, what you're doing is telling people who you are. It tells me that you have a ton of misdeeds, a ton of bad behavior, a ton of nefarious actions in your own closet. And you can't bear for someone to be held accountable, because then you'd have to be held accountable for what you've done. And you can't face the narrative or the idea that that would be a thing. And so you can't assess guilt onto him because you too are guilty of some of the very same things. And you know you'd be a hypocrite if you were able to pile guilt onto him, the guilt that he's absolutely deserving of. This man said in the opener, we need someone who is experienced in the dirtiest of dirty deeds in the media. Does that sound like someone who is not guilty? No, that sounds like the recitation of a guilty man saying, I don't care what you got to do. Help me beat this. Again, back to where we started. The difference between right and wrong and win or lose. He has a pattern of behavior. Some of his other patterns are, some of you guys like to call 50 Cent. Allow me to place my readers on. Some of you guys want to call 50 Cent petty, but let me tell you about Puffy's patterns. He had an innate pattern of behavior that he repeated perpetually, like pursuing and sleeping with the girlfriends and wives of the men he felt the most insecure around, as a passive-aggressive attack on the men that he felt he couldn't overtake. Some of y'all call Mr. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson sir, because like I said, I'm going to put respect on his name at all times. Petty. But just take into perspective, he tried to allegedly get at, sexualize, or attract Mr. Jackson by offering to take him shopping as if he were a woman that he was pursuing. And when aggressively rebuffed by Mr. Curtis Jackson, Mr. 50 Cent Curtis Jackson, he then went after 50 Cent's baby mother. Not because he loved her, cared for her, and wanted to form a relationship with her. Oh, no. More of the same pattern. He wanted to sexually dehumanize this woman, which is what he did. He treated her viciously like a savage in a dehumanizing manner. The mother of Mr. Jackson's child. She was preyed upon and probably believed that he truly desired and wanted her. It was all intentional. He destroyed this man's family. And now redemption and recompense has come upon Mr. Jackson, because now Mr. Puffy is subjected to the reckoning. He's getting what he deserves. This pattern was also seen with Albie Shore and Kim Porter. He knew as an intern, the audacity of you to come in as an intern, the guy who gets the coffee and the water, and push up on the star of the labels, woman. Do you know how ridiculous you have to be, the mentality you have to have? He did it with Suge Knight and one of what was described as his side piece. He ordered Kirk Burroughs to take $50,000 out of one of their accounts and buy her a diamond necklace to woo her. Not even a woman he had. Somebody was trying to get, this is the depths for which he would go. But at the same token, on the contrary, he had artists that were desperate for money. You heard Craig Mack's wife say, I had to ask my father for money. He wanted us to be at a show where we were, on the billboards of all this stuff. My husband went platinum and we had to ask him for money to get food, at which time Puffy pulled out a massive knot of money, what we used to call the grip, and peeled off $100 bill to give this man. But you would take $50,000 of the earnings of these artists that you took advantage of, and you would endeavor to give this money to a woman who is the paramour of someone you were jealous of. Patterns. He also did it with 50 and Daphne Joy, Tupac and one of his side chicks, which is how she was described. I don't seek to demonize her, and countless other people. So that's patterns. So far, we got possession, privilege, and pattern. Let's continue. Next, we go on to people. People were commodified by him. He didn't have any love or respect for people. They were currency to him, something to be moved around on a chessboard for his own benefits. He didn't respect these people. His benefit, his control, his desire for his own games, his own evil, his demonic and nefarious intentions and conduct. He had no respect for people. He hates people. They are pawns in his crab in a barrel chess game. His mentality and his climb to ascension predicated that he would use people on what he perceived to be his climb to the top. He sacrificed people in demonic plans. I was one of those sacrifices. It's like the opener said, every one of those name changes was connected to very violent things. See, when he shot me, he went from Puffy to P. Diddy. I'm not going to ever call him that. He's Puffy. I know he changed his name to escape what he did to me, and I will not participate in allowing him to have that. Number 5, petty. It showed us what those of us in the industry or the culture always and already knew about Puffy. He is the petty savage. He'd stop at nothing to have his way, no matter what it hurt, no matter who he hurt, killed allegedly, or who lay shot in the face by him and whose family was destroyed, whose body and lives were violated. You want to call 50 Cent petty because he created a documentary explaining the trajectory and the life and all of the nasty goings on in the industry by this man, all the people who became sacrificial lambs of his petulant desire to climb to what he perceived to be the top. He's the petty one, but not Puffy. What's wrong with you people? You are telling on yourselves. You are illustrating to those people around you who and what you are. And I hope they are paying close attention because you are looking like the monster. Next, we're going to go on to number 6, petulant. He is a child whose temper tantrums and proverbially stomps his feet, to takes his ball and goes home. He's not playing anymore. He wants to get over on you, and he can destroy anyone who he perceives to be his opponent. Hence the 25 years after he shot me that he continued to harass me because I was a formidable opponent. Let's talk about his formidable opponents. In the total anthology of what is Puffy, the formidable opponents to him were after the unalivings of Biggie and Tupac, I was the first person to stand up to him publicly. And I held the title for 24 years, 25 years until Cassie came along. That is not up for dispute. It's not up for dispute or debate. You can say what you want, argue with your mother. No one fought that man vehemently, publicly, like I did. I made sure the Bible calls us to cry aloud and spare not, and I spared not. But y'all didn't want to hear me though, because y'all pick and choose who's worthy of redemption. Perhaps I'm not the complexion for protection. I mean, let's keep it funky. It's a lot of colorism in this genre, in this industry, and still in this world. When you can create a documentary and have a woman who survived and fought vehemently for 20-something years against someone that no one would stand up to publicly, no one. And yet you reduce her to some tears, but you highlight other, content creators that you want to push to the limelight. Perhaps because they're what? More aesthetically pleasing, more ethnically ambiguous. They land on your tongue better. Let's call it what it is. If we're going to tell the truth, let's tell the truth. Let's tell the truth. See, it is this obsession with colorism, this hierarchy of who's appealing, because had anyone, all of the people who are listening now, all those people on the internet that wanted to argue me down, you a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. When I have irrefutable proof that this man shot me in my face. If you would endeavor to have a 100% solid listen to me in an environment that is pleasing, non-confrontational, you would hear a narrative that you would not believe, but you don't want that. You don't want that. Perhaps I have to wheel and come again for you to take me serious. Because had anybody listened to me 25 years ago, there is an entire litany of people that would have never endured any of this. But it makes me believe that the industry loves these things. They love a sad story. You love the suffering of people. You're all harvesting the energy of people. You know how many artists would have been able to preserve what they had he been stopped when I said he shot me in my face? But no. And yet some of you are still carrying on with this narrative that Shine took the fall. I have some video footage I'll pull up for you in regards to that as well. We have to stop this narrative. Shine shot Julius Jones in the shoulder and admitted to it. I have always irrefutably said Puffy shot me. I said it in the trial. I said it the entire time. Everybody knew it. But I digress. Let's go on to number 7, propaganda. He is a master at propaganda. You heard him say it. We need someone who is skilled in the dirtiest of dirty dirt in the media and propaganda. That is what he said. He is an expert at spinning narratives. This is how he was able to manipulate all of you people and get away with shooting me in my face. By the grace of God, by the majesty and grace of God, God said, oh, no, no, no. Because the word says, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. The Father God said, I'm not going to let you get away with this one. You're going to face this woman. You're going to face this child of mine. My name, Natanya, it means gift of God. Gift of God. God said, oh, absolutely not. Puffy, whatever your name is, you're not going to get over on this one. You are going to face my child. The Bible commands me to cry aloud and spare not. God has preserved and kept me by telling me, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. And any tongue that rises against me in judgment shall be condemned. But you guys like this master puppeteer. You like his propaganda. You can speculate on the who, what, when, where, and the whys. But this is concrete. When facing 6 days before his arrest, this man said in a video to his lawyer, I need somebody who deals in the dirtiest of dirty business in media and propaganda. We are losing. Argue with your mother. You cannot deny this. We have video proof of it. And I've told you guys time immemorial who this man was, but you chose not to believe it because it made more sense for you to. Too many people chose sides. And I'm not going to be here to victim blame, but there are a lot of people who are now speaking up and speaking out that could have spoke up and spoke out then. But you were more concerned with your payments for your Mercedes Benz and your jewelry and your trips and all of the spoils and all of the spillage that you got from being associated with this man. So that's what I'll say. But I'm not here to victim blame, because I am a 100% true victim, survivor, 100% irrefutable. Another one of the 12 P's is perception. He is so diabolical in his skills that not only did he create, but he curated the perception in the media and the minds of everyday people that by virtue of dancing around in shiny ass suits and hopping around and always with that duping delight grin and smirk on his face, that he was Mr. Good Guy of hip hop. And that by virtue of the fact that Suge Knight was bulky, big, and foreboding, that he was and gang affiliated, that he was the bad guy. Fooled you. Fooled you. Where's the documentary on Suge Knight that he's the big bad wolf? He's sitting up there incarcerated because the powers that be, let's keep it a buck, white people fell for the okie doke, but black people did too, and everybody else. You fell for the okie doke. Puffy is such a propaganda artist. He curated the notion that he was the good guy, dancing around in shiny suits, woo-hoo, all in the video, all on the thing. But you guys were, you had Suge Knight marked for the beast of all beasts. Oh, I'm terrified of Suge Knight. And guess what? Didn't you hear when they talked about Suge Knight's best friend, Jake Robles, getting assassinated at the hand, allegedly, of Puffy? If Suge Knight was the big bad wolf that you thought he was, why aren't we watching a documentary made about Suge Knight and all his devious deeds? See, stop letting someone do the sleight of hand on you. I keep telling you, everyone who tells you something at a hurried, harsh tone is not your enemy. And everybody that smiles and says, bless your heart, sugar, is not your friend. Open your eyes, use the spirit of discernment, trust your heart, trust your spirit before you just trust what you can see. Because you all fell for the okie doke. You thought Puffy was Mr. Nice Guy and Suge Knight was bad. And now look at you. Now look at you. Number 9 is punishment. The jurors were so misguided in their stupid obsession with being around a celebrity for the very first time in their lives. And they felt very fabulous and important by virtue of proximity to celebrity. Ooh, I'm in a courtroom with a celebrity. Guess what I'm doing, guys? The fact that they, in their mundane lives, have now the power and the authority to decide what happens to a celebrity. Oh, they felt very lovely and fancy about it. And they wanted to win and curry some favor with him by like making smirks. And the judge had to admonish him for smirking. And you heard juror number 75 or 160 or whatever her number was. She was like, he was making the same facial expressions I was making. They both had duping delight. The woman and the Indian gentleman both had duping delight on their faces. They were so enamored with the fact that this was their new cocktail hour story. Oh, did I tell you I was on the jury with Puffy and I had to do this and I had to, girl, we let him go. It wasn't. How do you feel now? You said, oh, they were in a relationship, two people in love. Is that acceptable for your daughter? If your daughter's boyfriend, we're not going to call him a husband because he don't know nothing about marrying no woman. He only uses people for commodities. He uses you as he needs and feels and then dismisses you. Sir, juror number 75, or I could be mistaken, he's number 160 and she's 75. Either way, if I'm mistaken on which one the other is, charge it to my head and not my heart. Is that acceptable for your daughter to be treated by a man? Would you say, oh, they're in a loving relationship? How about your mother? How about your sisters? Is it okay? Your nieces? That's a loving relationship if their man does all those things. You'll stand back and be like, oh, it's not my business. loving relationship. You sound absolutely stupid. And let me tell you something. You landed on the wrong side of history. You look like a maniac. You're as guilty as he is. I tell you, people find it hard to judge people when they are themselves guilty of the same stuff. And the young lady, like, I remember when I was watching Making a Band, and he used to make all those facial expressions. He was making those facial expressions to me in the courtroom, and I was like making the same thing back to him. Like, girl, you sound like an imbecile. Are you not ashamed? Are you not embarrassed? You guys are on the wrong side of history. I just need you to know that. I know this is your new story for your cocktail hour. Oh, you were made to feel important. He looked at you in the courtroom and made all those faces because he was using charisma to manipulate and charm you, like he has done time immemorial. But you don't want to hear that. You want to believe that you were somehow different, special. The jury system in the United States of America needs to be redone, because this was not a jury of his peers. What does this, and no disrespect to him being Indian, what does this Indian man know? He said to you unequivocally in the video, I was not his fan. I don't know his music. I didn't know anything about him. How then is he equipped to make decisions on the culture when you don't know anything about it? How are you equipped to make decisions and navigate the nuances of the culture, the music, the lifestyle? How? You're ill-equipped. You had no right being on that jury. None. And I will say that, the prosecution did a piss poor job of choosing jurors. There's always going to be a motley crew, but they did a horrible job. And the young lady, listen, girl, if you said you was a kid watching 106 in Park or TRL or Making the Band, you really don't have no business being a juror on this. You're not old enough to understand. I hear so many content creators out here giving these diatribe narratives, subject matter expert on Puffy narratives now. Oh, Diddy this and that. Let me tell you the T, and let me tell you. And then in the same breath, they're saying, and when I heard about that case where the city college and the 9 people died, I was shocked. I know nothing about that. You didn't know anything about that? How? How can I trust anything you have to say about this topic and this man when you don't know he was responsible for the loss of 9 lives? It was not that long ago. It was not that long ago. You didn't know this, but you presume yourself to be equipped to decide what should happen and who this man is. Some of you weren't even born yet. City College was darn near, 30 years ago? 31 years ago, because mine was this year, December 27th will be my 26-year survival. I have people who are 23 arguing me down about Diddy's a good guy. Dude, when he shot me, you were -2. You didn't exist. You didn't exist. Some of you were even gestationally baking in the oven. You didn't exist, but you're going to come on this internet and argue me down, or I'm a hater and I just want to take a good black man down. See, some of you are not fighting a game of right and wrong. You are fighting win or lose. You think this Puffy situation is what you're going to, the man is trying to take down hip hop. No, Puffy did that. Name one of his artists that made money. Name one of his artists that are wealthy off of all the labor, blood, sweat, tears that they've given. Name one. None. The only 2 who even partially made it out, I'll say 3, but 2 who may have a modicum of success, was Mace, who had the wherewithal as a 19-year-old man to say, no thanks, I'm not making another record with him. I don't want nothing to do with this. I don't want this deal. And fought vehemently. I have to say, Mace was a formidable opponent too. Mace fought for his freedom. I will give you that. My apologies. I stand corrected. Mace was a formidable opponent, and he got out and preserved some of his. Now he's had his issues as well, and and I don't mean negativity issues. I mean financially and dealing with rebranding himself and getting his career back on the ground, because this man Puffy had the ability to blacklist people and make sure your projects were not pushed out. And so he did not bless the world with a few artist. He stole magic from society. He stole talent that we will never know from society, primarily from the lives of Biggie and Tupac because of jealousy. And listen, I stand in good company. Those were two amazing Geminis like myself. We be knowing. We be knowing. That's why Pac said, I don't want nothing to do with this joker. Nothing. And that burned his tail. And then Pac told Biggie, and Biggie was on his own, like, nah, I ain't messing with him. I'm getting off this label. We've heard all the narratives. Geminis, baby, we're a different breed. And he couldn't beat those two Geminis, so he allegedly, in my opinion, unalived them. Whether not directly, but indirectly, he orchestrated, and that's the same thing. And those people who orchestrate somebody's unaliving get the same charge as the person who facilitated. Don't act like you don't know. You know. The jail is full of a lot of people that got the same thing. So these jurors felt important, and this is what happens this is what happened in my trial. And I said it on many of my, come to my channel, The Dopest Nerd on YouTube, The Dopest Nerd on IG, The Dopest Nerd 1 on IG, The Dopest Nerd on TikTok, and my Facebook is my private thing. You ain't even got to follow me on Facebook. That's my private thing. But on those other platforms, please follow and join, subscribe, like, share my information. If you go on my TikTok, my IG, my YouTube, you will, if you look through the videos, you will see a video of Shine admitting, and I'm going to try to play it here before we get off of this, but they felt important and they felt valuable. They are not juries of his peers. Those two have no intersectionality with Puffy. How are they his peers? Nowhere close. And they were enamored by the presence and the proximity to this man. I told them, I said from the beginning, if they don't sequester this jury, those people are now going to be subject to all of this social media, and it's going to sway their opinion. You heard the young lady admit it. I heard people in the jury that was like, I got to run home and get on my IG. I got to run home and get on my social media. I thought y'all weren't supposed to discuss anything. See, she both, her and the guy, admitted to violations of the jury code. And for that, if nothing else, this 50-month sentence should be thrown out and the judge should resentence him to the real time. It should be thrown out because they absolutely unequivocally got it wrong. And people's lives are at peril because they got it wrong. This man is nothing nice and they got it wrong. And that's unfair. What disturbed me the most about the jurors is, not unlike Puffy, there was a lot of duping delight. Let me explain to you what duping delight is. Duping delight is a psychological term when people have committed an act or done something wrong, and they know that they've done wrong, and they feel a sense of jubilation and inner joy because they perceive themselves to be getting away with it, and they make this little smirk when they talk. They try to hold it back. You see a little clenching in the jaw because they're trying to hold it back, but they think they've gotten away with it. That smirk, that telling on the face is duping delight. It is the smirk and the inner satisfaction of feeling that you got away with doing something wrong. They're on the wrong side of society and history. And trust me, history is going to lash them wicked. History is going to give them a wicked lash. They're going to regret that. They're going to be humiliated in their life for the decision that they made. And the God I serve is big on wrath and retribution. And baby, like I always talk about recompense, they too will receive recompense for what they've done. I promise you that. Look at your boy Puffy. I said it. You didn't want to listen. The next of the 12 is number 10, and that's poverty. Let me put on my readers for this one because I wrote quite a bit. Poverty. He has harvested the energy, money, lives, talent, skills, know-how, and existence and hard work of personas, styles, of women, men, and everything else, everyone else. From any and every person he's ever come into contact with. He's done so at the peril of all of these people. He's sacrificed one way or another. He has left every contributor, whether by hard work like Kurt Burrows or talent like Biggie, in every aspect every artist on Bad Boy Empire roster, and he's left them broke and barely making ends meet, in poverty, in consideration of how much money they've made that he stole by theft, by conversion. Name me any of the artists that emerged from Bad Boy Records that has a story of wealth and success on Bad Boy and post. Any multimillionaires from Bad Boy, please name them. Someone drop them in the comments. They had to leave and recreate themselves. Only Mace and Faith successfully had any notable success in the public eye in their respective fields. And perhaps other ones, Mark Curry's still doing his thing, whatever, and no disrespect to that man. I don't know his situation yet. I've not seen any, recitation of what he is in his financial wherewithal. But as far as people continuing their public pursuit of their artistry, those are the two that I'm familiar with. Anybody else, please inform me. There's no way that you had an entire roster of talent on this record company and no one has a success story to tell about wealth and growing old in their craft and still touring and living life, enjoying the wealth that they amassed at Bad Boy Records. I mean, for God's sake, he named it Bad Boy. What else do you need? You had an artist, they had to leave and recreate themselves. You had an artist, G-Dep. Now, some may speculate as to who, what, when, where, how, why he did what he did, but he, at some point, unalived a man. This man, G-Dep, got away with it for 17 years. 17 years, no one knew he did it. After experience with Puffy and being on Bad Boy, and he had success, notable success with his songs and his performances through his artistry at Bad Boy, but he didn't reap the benefits of it. This man who had got away with unaliving someone, G-Dep's name is Travell Coleman. If you don't know, look it up. He unalived a victim, John Henkel. And I remember years ago watching a mini doc in regards to it. And from what I understand, as according to the mini doc creators, they said his family said to him, "What did you turn yourself in for? We have already processed and dealt with our grief as pertaining to the loss of his life. No one knew you did it. Why didn't you just go on and live your life? Why did you turn yourself in? That doesn't bring my brother back or my family member back." Now, after having time to think about it and ponder on what he did and whatever, according to G-Dep, Travell Coleman, he says that he wanted to restore balance to his life and his victim's family. And in order to purge his soul, he felt he had to, turn himself in and redeem himself. He's entitled to that. In my opinion, the option between Puffy and jail, prison, he decided to take prison. But we honor people who take responsibility for their actions. So I'm not judging him. I am simply illustrating. But I'm certain that this is yet another story that you youngins, sometimes y'all need to stand down. Y'all think y'all know everything. It's very annoying, quite annoying. But I'm not saying you can't speak. I'm saying you're not the aficionado on some of these topics, even though you think you are. But you're not. And it's annoying when you don't allow, when you get on social media and you're combative and I can't tell you how many people I fought out there with this whole narrative of they think they know better than me. And I was a liar. He didn't shoot me. And all this, Shine took the heat. I still hear people on their narratives today saying Shine took the heat. Shine shot Julius Jones in his shoulder. He admitted to it. I'm going to play you the narrative. I don't want my video to be long, so I'm about to wrap it up. The number 11 is Pariah. If you're still out here and you're calling Mr. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, sir, a petty man, you are like Puffy. And you probably have evil secrets in your own life, as well as you're on the wrong side of history. You are probably equally dirty as Puffy. When released, and he won't be released on good behavior because he's already been admonished and punished twice in prison and in jail for bad behavior. I had people harassing me after the sentence. Oh, he's going to get out on good behavior and his which good behavior? You don't live your entire adult life and some of your youth being bad, naming your company Bad Boy, exhibiting nothing but bad behavior, and then go to prison and be the exemplary person in the world and get out on good behavior. Like, are you guys insane? What is this expectation that you have? Someone who's never been held accountable doesn't just turn it around like that. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it probable? No. Once he's released, he will become a pariah, an outcast to society. And he should be, because he spent all of his formative years enjoying the fruits of other people's labor, for which he did not deserve. And he took people and took advantage of people. And so he should be outcast. All of those people on the documentary that were taking pics with him, you're landing on the wrong side of history as well. You should be ashamed of yourself. You look like fools. Ooh, Puffy, can I take a picture? Ooh, how do you feel? You have got to feel absolutely foolish. You have got to feel absolutely foolish, humiliated. Where are your public statements renouncing his conduct and his behavior and saying that you are ashamed of the fact that he was about to go on trial and that you were participating in something like this? You should have shame. I call all of y'all, like Mr. G-Dep, come to the front of the room and apologize and repent for what you've done, because you look insane. And by virtue of the fact that let me take a picture, it means you are acting in accordance and in agreement with his behavior. It looks like you are supporting his behavior, and it's really disgusting. And the number 12 of the 12 P's of Puffy is prophecy. The conclusion and footnote to this review of this diabolical person and this documentary called The Reckoning by Mr. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, sir, Miss Alexandria Stapleton, ma'am, and Netflix, as well as all the survivors and the people who worked, experienced, and were subject to his nefarious and diabolical evil, in my opinion. Well, not even so much in my opinion. God gave me the gift of prophecy. I didn't ask for it. The word says many are called, but chosen are few. He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He decided to qualify me because not only was I called, but I am chosen. I said now 4 years ago to some friends of mine, we were on a business trip, and I told them and I told a few other people, but I told this particular group, I spoke of the prophecy that God gave me. God gave me 3 things in one prophecy. He said, Puffy's world will topple and fall apart. He said, Puffy will try to unalive himself, and that Babylon will fall. Well, look at the state of America and the world. Is Babylon not falling? Put a finger down if Babylon is falling. Put a finger down if Puffy's world fell apart. And the rest is yet to be seen. Am I wishing that on someone? No, I am simply telling you the prophecy that the Most High gave me. He said, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. Some of the people that I told about this prophecy, they took it for what it was worth. They experienced with me. They know that I have a prophetic gift, and they were like, oh, wow, okay. I saw a few, somebody, and some people flat out thought I was obsessed. But guess who were the first people to reach out to me or remind me? Listen, let me give you the dictionary version of prophecy. I had this whole thing set out, but you could plan what you want, and it doesn't necessarily make that it's going to come out the way you want it to. But let me show you this particular. Let me give you this narrative. Prophecy: the foretelling or prediction of what is to come. Something that is declared by a prophet, especially a divinely inspired prediction, instruction, or exhortation, a divinely inspired utterance or revelation, oracular prophecies, the action, function, faculty of a prophet. Okay? God ordained, anointed, and imbued me with the gift of prophecy. I said, in no uncertain term 4 years ago, I had people that mocked me because of it. And look, those who don't hear have to feel. I didn't make that up. Your mama used to tell you that when you was little. You don't want to hear, you will feel. But one thing I know, my God says, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. I'm not going to let this run much longer, and I will pull it up from YouTube and show you what I'm talking about, because I'm so tired of the narrative that shine took the rap. Shine didn't take any rap. Shine took a rap for what he did. That man shot Julius Jones, and he took the rap for that. All right. I'm going to share this with you guys. This is my documentary, the sizzle reel for my documentary that I've been filming for years. And every producer, every single, person that came in like, oh, I'll help you with it. I'll help you do this, that, and the third. Every single one of them ran like a bat out of HE double hockey sticks when they found out that it had to do with Puffy. Puffy would knock down. Hold on. I want to present it properly. This is my sizzle reel for my documentary that I created. All rights reserved. Everything being used is for fair use. Copyright 107 law. I am not claiming the ownership of anyone's artistic copyright or anything. I'm simply using it under fair use. And this is just the beginning. You are about to be tested. And so that's the first thing that came to my mind once I got shot. Almost 20 years ago, I went out for a night on the town with my girlfriends the day after Christmas for what I thought would just be a nice evening out, first night out in quite a while. And little did I know that that would forever live in infamy and change the trajectory of my entire life.
When I seen that kid reach for his pistol, that's when I shot him in the shoulder.
They shooting.
For the Natanya Rubin, that was my homegirl.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we knew Natanya. We used to go to the studio with her, and everything was everything. Although we don't know if it was my gun, that hit her with the ricochet, because it was like 4 other guns. And it was a terrible situation because, like I said, she was my friend. So I'm sorry that she had to suffer.
I don't sleep, living on stolen time. And in some weird turn of events like Final Destination, that I won't wake up.
It's a number that is almost incomprehensible, especially when so many of the victims are teenagers.
Major heartbreak in South LA this morning. The deadly shooting of a teenager.
Teenager shot in the head in East Harlem.
The boy was shot 4 times.
But this is my story. I am a survivor of gun violence.
They shooting. I made you look. You a slave to a page in my rhyme.
Now, ironically, one moment, I still get emotional seeing myself. Like, look at my hair. I have locks. I've been growing these locks for over 3 years. My hair was completely different back then. This is how long I've been working on this project. What does that say to you? This man, I worked with about 4 or 5 different producers, director. Well, my director, my homeboy, Raheem Shabazz, that made that sizzle reel for me and started this project with me. He is a documentary filmmaker, and you guys should check out his work. He has a documentary called, my mind does slip me sometime. It's the School to Prison Pipeline, Elementary Genocide. And he has 3 versions of it: the School to Prison Pipeline, the Board of Ed versus the Board of Incarceration, and I forget what the other one is. Charge it to my head and not my heart. But check his stuff out. It's available. Check out on YouTube, go to his website, and he has a podcast called Elementary Genocide. It's on, if I'm not mistaken, Apple Music and iHeartRadio, I believe, and a few other places where you find your podcasts. He's everywhere. And I've been on his show. We are friends. And he started this project with me, and we were looking for producers to help us and assist us in the funding of this, because it's it costs money. Maybe I'll start a GoFundMe to get the production up, to get this done, get this thing complete. But in the interim, those of you who want to support me in getting this produced, because there are so many people who are the survivors of gun violence or those who have lost their life, and it is my desire to help them reclaim their narrative. And who better to do it? I mean, this is a firsthand project I've been working on for very many years. And Puffy did everything to slap it down. I'm telling you, I had producers that were like, oh, I'm all in. We got this. We're going to get this project done. Let's talk. Let's get together. They have movies out. And this one in particular, he called me back. I can see myself right now where I was when he called me. I was in my neighborhood, a neighborhood near mine, and they were having this entire neighborhood sale, and it was like a really fancy neighborhood, and people had all types of stuff out. And I saw this. I was literally buying a dollhouse, this massive dollhouse for my granddaughter, as this guy called me and was like, you need to make sure you don't have my name associated with this project. You need to leave this alone. Your life is at stake. I don't want nothing to do with this. I'm telling you, nobody's going to touch this project. You need to leave it alone. Oh my God, I don't want nothing to do with Puffy. I was like, are you kidding? You're a whole grown man. What are you acting like a baby for? But it's all these people. And listen, I've been saving him and the others for so many years, but I'm going to call your names. I am going to call your names. When I do shot, I'm going to call your names. You deserve it. You absolutely unequivocally deserve it. It was disgusting the way you treated me and allowed this man to bully you. But everything in God's time. I'm still going to call your name. I'm still going to call your names. You deserve it. You deserve it. But guys, that was the 11 P's of Puffy. I did a full 3-hour review of The Reckoning on my channel. If you go look on my channel and check out these other videos and follow, like, share, subscribe, follow, join the family. Our family is called The Nerd Herd. I am your girl, the dopest nerd, AKA Natanya Rubin, AKA the giant that was very instrumental over a 25-year period of taking down Sean Puffy Combs. If you want to know more about my story or what he has done to me in the 25 years, by all means, go down, look on my channel, click on one of these other videos. A video should pop up here that you can also watch, and click on other videos so you can get to know my story and get to know more. But please, let's end the narrative that Shine took the fall. Shine shot a man named Julius Jones in the shoulder. You heard him say, if you go on my page, either YouTube, IG, TikTok, you will see that video for Shot. Shine said of his own mouth on the Combat Jack podcast, I shot that kid in the shoulder. And see, Natanya Rubin, that was my homegirl. Like, me and her was friends. We used to go to the studio and everything was everything. We used to go to the studio with her. So I'm sorry that this happened to her. That was the closest thing and it's funny. I always say this. People always come to me and say, did they ever apologize to you? And I'm always like, what? Guilty people don't apologize. Shine made it an attempt. While he didn't apologize to me, he gave a theoretical apology. But he then went back thinking that when he was incarcerated for practically 10 years, he screamed from the mountaintop that Puffy was trash and he threw him under the bus and all this stuff, still being loyal, hoping that one day Puffy would come around and scoop him. Brother, he sacrificed me. He sacrificed you too. Your career never was what you thought it would be. See, Puffy sacrifices people. And somebody said to me after they watched The Reckoning and they inserted that clip of City College where he was dressed in all white and the young lady was what appeared to be unalived or unaliving, and they were attempting to sustain her life by doing CPR first aid on her, and he had his shirt unbuttoned and he walked away. He has told a narrative over and over again of how he was giving CPR to someone. This sucker walked away. They said he snatched a bag of money and went in the back with this chick. If I'm not mistaken, her name is Jessica. Charge it to my head and to my heart if I'm getting it wrong. If it's the same girl, Jessica, I remember her from back in the days. She was a hater. She used to always treat me shady. I didn't know what the heck was her problem, but she was in the club scene, in that whole cultural scene. She was always shady to me. I'm not exactly sure what it was predicated by, because I did nothing to this young lady, but that's a firsthand account. So in conclusion, to you other content creators who decided that you want to create a documentary and you want to tell a tale, stop trying to do the quick, easy, add water and stir Kool-Aid version. By virtue of the fact that most of the people in your documentaries called him Diddy, I knew y'all wasn't telling no story. You were telling a story of hearsay, hyperbole, so, pomp, circumstance, and all kind of other chicanery and foolishness. I can tell myself, Mr. Curtis, 50 Cent Jackson, sir, Kirk Burroughs, who deserves so much respect, and may God grant every wish you have ever had since you were an infant. May God restore and redeem you. God preserved you. Thank you, Father God, for preserving him, his mind, body, soul, spirit, flesh, and finances that he shall recoup from this time or from that time to a time such as this. Thank you for keeping his mind, because that's another thing Puffy wants. He harasses you so perpetually, hoping that you will lose your mind. He tried to do it to me firsthand. I am giving you a firsthand account. Don't listen to those other measly, documentary makers that are just about a quick buck. They're just like Puffy. They're just like him. They don't care. They use people. They call you in. They have you sit, tell your story for hours, and then they pick apart. They who have no connection to the culture or the industry or anything that would do anything substantive, pick your words apart and put other people who seem more hyperbolous and more who are more aesthetically pleasing to their own palate, eye, and the camera and their opinions. And, let's keep it funky. If we're going to do what's right, you need to put some respect on Mr. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson's name, sir. Miss Alexandra Stapleton's name, and Netflix, because they did the real deal. If you want to tell a narrative, if you want to espouse the truth about how things went, you got to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. In hip hop, we need to get rid of misogyny, violence, colorism, and all of the above, and so much more. You want to talk about it? Let's talk. Follow me at The Dopest Nerd on all platforms, The Dopest Nerd on YouTube, THADOPESTNERD on YouTube, The Dopest Nerd 1 on IG, The Dopest Nerd on TikTok. Follow me. Let's talk about it, because we're about to make some change. Thank you. And as my grandmother always says, tomorrow, please God, and God willing, and the creek don't rise.